I am very excited to introduce our keynote speaker for this afternoon. I had the privilege of working with Sandy Carter for this past year, working on women's initiatives at IBM. She is the general manager of developers in the startup ecosystem, and came to San Francisco from New York like a rock star and immediately got to know the entire scene. So that's just the way she is. She is a longtime Witty member and a board member of Witty. And without further ado, I am very pleased to announce Sandy Carter.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Oh, wow, good afternoon. Okay, we might need to start playing that dancing music again to get everybody jazzed up. Well, one of the things that I wanted to do today, as a privilege, is to talk to you guys a little bit about cognitive computing. And some of you may understand it as AI, artificial intelligence, or machine learning. And I wanted to talk to you about it because I think it represents a tremendous opportunity and a way that all of us as women can expand our skills and really impact the next generation, not just of technology, but more importantly of business. So I want you guys to also tweet. We're trying to get Witty out there. So it's #WittySummit if you're tweeting. And then I also included my Twitter out there because I'm hoping that this presentation will be the start of a relationship with you. I know many of you live all over the place, but I'd love to keep in touch with you via Twitter and blogs and other things, okay? So let's get started talking about 5 things that you need to know about cognitive. So I wanted to start by showing you Marvin. And Marvin is our robot from IBM that is powered by cognitive. Now, the really cool thing here is Marvin is playing rock, paper, scissors. And as you look at Marvin playing rock, paper, scissors, he is looking and visualizing who he's playing. Is it a man? Is it a woman? He is taking in their Twitter handle, their Facebook ID to analyze personality. He is doing trade-off analysis. You know, should I do rock? Should I do paper? Should I do scissors? What should I do? What's the trade-offs? What's the best ratio? So there's so many cognitive functions going on here in just a simple game. And let me give you some fun facts. Rock, paper, scissors. Did you know there's a world championship of rock, paper, scissors? There is. Now, rock, paper, scissors is quite interesting because most people view it as a game of chance. But as we've gathered data, and people waited for 4 hours at South by Southwest to play rock, paper, scissors with Marvin, 4 hours, we found that 80% of the time, men will start rock, paper, scissors with rock, the power. So if you're playing a man for the first time, you definitely should play paper because you're going to win. Bet a drink, bet a lunch, you're pretty sure to win. If you're playing a woman, what do you think she's going to start with 80% of the time? Scissors. So it's interesting how Marvin, using visualization, recognized that pattern, men versus women, and then was able to do trade-off analysis and grow smarter based on that particular fact of learning. And that's what cognitive is all about. It's not something that's impersonal. It's something that's going to impact us in every element of our lives, I believe. So there's 5 things I wanted to talk to you about, and I wanted you to see and think about experiencing cognitive, not just look at it on a piece of paper, but 5 things I think that all of us should take away from Witty and take back into our companies. First, I want to show you how fast it's growing. I want to show you about the skills that people are looking for today on cognitive. I want to talk to you about ways you can further experience this by going up to a developer cloud and playing with some of this, and then ways you can start now actually playing with the code. Even if you're not a coder, it's really easy, and how you can get started. So those are the 5 things we're going to go through. So first, just understanding what cognitive is. When someone says cognitive to you, it is one of the fastest growing words that are Googled out there today. Cognitive software is really about a set of software that helps you to do a couple of things. To understand, the software understands what's going on. So think about Marvin, understanding playing a game of rock, paper, scissors. Some software that reasons. So remember, he thought through the coding, oh wow, I could look at some of the data to make better decisions, better trade-offs, and then learned, i.e. figured out I'm playing a man versus a woman, I'm looking at personalities on Twitter and Facebook, and therefore I'm able to do something different and get an edge in the game by doing that. So I think it's really important that when you're thinking about cognitive, you're thinking about software that leverages some sort of sensory capability, that is looking at emotion, measuring that, whether it's sentiment on Twitter, that can essentially have a either verbal or non-verbal conversation. As Marvin is sitting there going rock, paper, scissors, he's going rock, paper, scissors. He's having a conversation in different ways. So cognitive software, I think, is going to change the game across the board. And I think it's going to be an interesting match of humans plus machine, not humans versus machines. So we've done some extensive research on what cognitive systems look like and what they're great at. So machines are great at finding out knowledge, collecting data, looking at language, eliminating bias, right? We find a lot of companies today will want to use cognitive in their hiring practices, so there is no bias that's present. It's based on capabilities. And we humans are great at being creative, leading, having compassion. And so I think the combination is the right combination. So if you think about cognitive in medical practices, for instance, supplementing what a doctor knows, so allowing a doctor to leverage his or her experience, being able to abstract, plus the knowledge that maybe a cognitive system can bring in from all the different medicines you're taking, really is that winning scenario or winning practice today. And so a lot of people are fearful of cognitive. I'm hopeful because I think it's going to help us make our jobs better, make us stronger in what we're doing. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So let me tell you about the difference in cognitive from just even a year ago. So last year, I did a presentation on top trends, and cognitive was one of those. But back then, it was like 40% of companies that would include artificial intelligence or machine learning into their businesses. But look at these numbers today. 95% of healthcare leaders say they're going to invest in cognitive. 95%. So that means if you're going to have an x-ray done, if you're going to go to a doctor in any form or fashion, then you're probably going to experience a cognitive system. Banking, 88% of banking leaders say that they're going to leverage it. And the one I really love is at the very bottom, which is developers. Today, only about 1% of developers say that they understand cognitive or AI and embed it in their code. But by 2018, which is only 2 years away, 50% of developers will be required to understand artificial intelligence and machine learning. What a great opportunity. This is why we see, when you go over to UC Berkeley, the highest salaries of the next generation of programmers being hired today are those with AI skills, machine learning skills, and cognitive skills. Very, very big and growing area. I wanted to show you just some of the possibilities, and I actually tried to get this to work, but I forgot my battery, so I left him unplugged. But this is a pen, just to show you the power of how to use this. I was at South by Southwest, and President Obama came to speak. And so you can see this little pen here. It's got different colors. It's a cognitive pen, and so it reads the sentiment of the audience about what someone's saying. So if I hadn't left the battery to drain and it was on me right now, I could see, as you guys are hashtagging Witty Summit, I could see how you feel about what I'm saying and adjust this presentation. So it's really quite interesting when Obama came to South by Southwest and he was talking about many different things. The pen, the colors would show pink and blue, which are, we agree, we support you, we have compassion to what you're talking about. And then he started talking about security. If you remember at the time of South by, Apple was looking at should they break into a phone or not. The pen went entirely red. Completely disagree with the position that was being taken. So you can see that the skills and the applicability here across the board, I think, is gonna grow, and these skill areas will be extremely important. In fact, if you talk to many of the universities like we do around technology, they say that right now, the potential around cognitive, the supply that they see coming out of colleges is lower, much lower than the demand that they see projected out of all the numbers everywhere. So that's a great opportunity for us, because there are classes we can take through things like Coursera to beef up our skills. There are hands-on experiences that we can do and gather to really understand this area and really help us in our skills for the next generation. Does that make sense? How many of you in the room have experience with AI and cognitive? Can I just see a show of hands? So just a very few. So that's great for those of you who do. If you don't, I would take an action coming out of here to learn a little bit more about it. What skills should you focus on? Well, here are the types of skills that companies are looking for between now and 2020 that are in short supply. So one of the first is behaviorist, people who understand behavior. So if you think about cognitive, a machine is not smart on his own. He's got to be trained. She's got to be trained. And so they're looking for behavioralists to help with some of the ways and behaviors that you want to teach to the system. Data scientist. So we talked about Marvin playing rock, paper, scissors, and he's gathering data. And so being able to understand data and being able to leverage data is going to be absolutely essential. UI designers. The way that you design a system that's cognitive is 180% different than the way you design a system today. So they're looking for designers of the future who understand these systems. Of course, people who are familiar with language, because you also have to be familiar with language, and then subject matter experts. So if you think about rock, paper, scissors, we actually had the champion, believe it or not, of rock, paper, scissors, come to teach Marvin some of the techniques and some of the strategies. If you look at some of the systems for medicine, they're training on the materials today. So you need to be able to train and to teach based on a subject matter expert. So I bet many of you in the room have skills in these areas. If you just add part of this cognitive error to it, then you'll be able to really expand the really drive for your particular skills in the marketplace. And this is an easy, great one that you can expand to lots of different areas. So my daughter's here today, and she loves fashion. How many of you guys love fashion? I love fashion, by the way. And so here you can see that we have taken a dress. We actually stole the New York Fashion Show. And this dress is embedded with washable LED fabric. The dress itself was able to turn different colors based on movement. So as you walk, the dress changed colors. We actually attached it to her heartbeat, and so it used Internet of Things to change colors based on heartbeat. Don't want to do that before a hot date, because the dress would be going blah, 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 and everybody would know it. And we also programmed it, and it learned that when you stop to talk to somebody, you wanted to stop flashing the colors because you didn't want a distraction. You wanted people focused on you and what you were saying. Now, let me tell you a great story. You see down there in the lower right is this robotic dress kit. There was a colleague. Her name is Anita Nett. She's been on the cover of Vogue 5 times. But at 26, she was a little bit too old to be a fashion model anymore. It was very interesting. I met with her, and she said her dream was never to be a fashion model. Her dream was to be a coder. Can you imagine that? Most little girls want to be a model, and they end up being an engineer. She was a model and wanted to be an engineer. And so when she was too old to model, she decided to combine her love of fashion and her skills, her subject matter expertise in that, with cognitive computing. So if you look here, this is a robotic dress kit. Her company is called Fashion 360. And she's got this LED fabric inside of it, and it enables kids, mostly girls, to learn how to code, to play with Internet of Things, and to learn cognitive computing while making their own tunic, showing it off at school, enabling them to now get that experience at an early age. So the skills that you have don't just have to be technical. You need that subject matter expertise, like fashion, that she has, that can really take this to the next level. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Great. So here, I really wanted to emphasize the dress that you saw that stole the runway at New York City was designed by a woman, both the design as well as the coding concepts for the cognitive systems. The robotics kit I just showed you that is now in partnership with IBM and Intel, designed by a woman, Anita Nett. Women are a growing force in cognitive systems. And I think that should help all of us have really great inspiration for taking this next generation technology, maybe bypassing the cloud era and moving straight into cognitive and really excelling at your skills and what you need to accomplish. So I'm really excited about this. So let me show you now a little bit of the technology that's behind some of this. So you saw that it's really fast growing, right? Lots of opportunity out there. You understand what it is. You've seen some of the skills that are required. Let me show you some of the different elements that are underneath it. So when cognitive first came out, it was really about a Q&A engine. Do you guys remember Jeopardy? Where IBM, there was a computer Watson that played on Jeopardy. That was really a cognitive system that was built on a Q&A engine. We trained Watson on a set of questions and a set of answers, and she studied and studied and studied and was able to win based on learning those questions, learning the patterns, and moving forward. Now, look how quickly, this morning we heard a lot of speakers talking about the speed of technology. There's tons of services today now that couple what we saw as Q&A, visualization, personality insight, trade-offs that need to occur. And so there's many different avenues here for you now to expand what you might be able to do with such a system into many different applications. So I wanted to show you some of these new services that are in addition to what we used to have with question and answer areas. So I first want to start with another robot. And you remember our last robot was Marvin. This is Connie. And we're here today in the Conrad Hotel, run by Hilton. Hilton right now is experimenting with Connie. Do you see her up there? Isn't she super cute? So she is now a concierge. And what is the Hilton doing with Connie? Well, she is using cognitive. So behind the scenes, she's using natural language, speech to text, text to speech. She's looking at trade-offs and making some decisions. She's looking at how to engage with people. How do I be kind? How do I be empathetic? So here you see these two young ladies who came up to her, and they asked her, hey, we're new in town. We're looking for an art museum. So Connie was able to say, oh, there's a great art museum. It's 2 blocks down, etc. And then Connie said, are you guys interested in abstract art? And they said yes. So Connie was able to upsell them 2 tickets for the latest Monet exhibit. And in fact, Connie today is driving about 41% more business as a concierge. Right now, she's very unusual than what we see everywhere else because of all these really cool things. Now, can you imagine, just think about how far cognitive has come in this area and how much cognitive is able to do to be a concierge, leveraging these types of services, more than just Q&A, but the ability to understand natural language, the ability to translate it, to engage with somebody, to dialogue, and to help advise. Pretty cool, right? I wish they would get one here. I actually talked to the manager about it. I'm like, we gotta have Connie come here next year for sure. So let me show you some other powers, and this one is amazing to me. So visualization. Think about how much you consume with your eyes and the ability not just to see something, but to differentiate something as well. So we can now train in a cognitive system, not just to say, this is a peach, but we can actually train to say, this is a ripe peach, and this is an unripe peach. I wish I knew that when I went to the grocery store, because I buy a lot of unripe peaches. So imagine the applications here. Let's say that you're in insurance, And instead of having people key in, wow, I have a hybrid, it's a Toyota. If you could just take a picture of the car, and from the picture, the cognitive system knows the year, the make, the model, and even the damage. Is it a dent in the fender? Is it a cracked window? What is there? Imagine how helpful that would be to an insurance company, with many companies now doing that. Now, how do you get something like this to be programmed in? Well, it's really a lot easier than you would imagine. So I was actually playing around with Watson, and at the end I'll give you the URL and you can go do the same. With 50 pictures, visual pictures, you can actually train Watson to recognize the ripe peach, the unripe peach. Here, baseball versus cricket, or pizza versus spaghetti, just by looking at visual images and being smart at the way that you train. So remember up front I said some of the skills that we need, our training skills, subject matter expertise. Based on how you go to the grocery store and select a ripe peach or unripe peach, then you can train a cognitive system. And as little as 50 pictures, you can get the computer up to about a 60% accuracy level, with more 90, 95% accuracy level moving forward. Now, can you guys imagine at your companies, would this be something that you guys might be able to apply? Can you just imagine and envision that? I think that's where, to me, the power comes in with the creative business idea of how to apply this to an insurance company, to a baseball area. I'll tell you, one of my startups sells pizza, and he's got a very unique design in pizza, actually here in San Francisco. And he found that a lot of people were posting pictures of his pizza on Twitter and saying, this is the best pizza ever, but they wouldn't mention him or his store. Because his pizza looks different, what he is doing is using cognitive. He's entered all the different types of his pizza and all the stuff that's not his pizza. He's now combing Twitter for pictures that look like his pizza and retweeting and saying, thank you, this is from my store located on this street, increasing his business. Pretty smart, right? For an entrepreneur to be able to pick that up and use cognitive systems to do something like that. Now this is really interesting, and I'm going to play, if you could play just a quick video, quick demo here for me. So this is something that you can do. I just pulled in, off of this Tony's Pizza place that we just talked about, text from a Yelp review. And what I'm able to do with that text is to analyze it using a cognitive system and get an entire personality profile of the person who wrote that Yelp review. With just 200 characters, I can tell what kind of personality on 52 different dimensions they have, what their consumer needs are, what their values are. So if they write a Yelp review, I can then target, oh wow, I might give them a discount, or I might write them a letter of apology, or I might, call them up on the phone because that's what they need based on their personality. A lot of retailers are using something like this today versus, how they used to do, well, this is your history of purchase. People who purchase this product also purchase this product. Have you guys seen that? But imagine now if you could say, people who purchase this product who have the same personality as you also purchase these products. 30 to 40% higher cross-sell capability based on personality than cross-purchase likeness. So some amazing areas that you can use and leverage this in. Now, I think this is really interesting in tone. When you're sitting with somebody and you ask them a question and they say, yes, or they say yes, or they say yes, you know the difference in all those tones, right? How do you pick that up socially, using social media, where a lot of the data comes from today? Well, what you can use now is you can leverage cognitive to be able to interpret emotional cues, social cues that come in, different ways that things are used based on country. And you can actually determine that in a whole set of factors so that you can better leverage, use, and respond to data. So today there's so much data out there, and a lot of it is being used from social media, which has not a lot of context behind it. So this is a great way to showcase it. And this is another example of, I just used, again, a Yelp review. You can use someone's speech. When I went to India, I used a speech from Gandhi. And you can analyze like a whole set of these. And you can see here from the Yelp reviews, even though they may have given me a 4 or a 5, I can see, you know, this person responded in anger. This person responded in fear. This person responded in joy. And I can respond differently now to each of those reviews based on what I learned from the social cues, where they're located, New York or San Francisco, very different tones, and really have a more customized, personalized way to address some of these issues and areas as well. Now, I wanted to show you a couple of examples of how people are using this because I want you to capture in your imagination how you might be able to use this. This is a company called Alpha Modus. They're a startup in New York City that deals with asset management trading. And what they decided to do is they have 2 Wall Street traders, very successful, made lots of money. And so they said, what if we could scale us 2? What if we could scale us? What would we do? What would we teach somebody? Because for us, if the market's falling, we make a lot more money than the regular trader out there. And so using cognitive systems, they decided, well, let's look at how we do this. We look at certain forums. We look at certain trends. There are certain things that we know and we look at that's our secret. Let's now codify that in a set of keywords. For instance, gold. Particular set of markets. Maybe not every market, but the markets we choose. And let's see if we can beat the market with a software system, not ourselves personally, but with a software system to scale. And here with this little demo, I don't know if you can click this one too. I forgot to tell you about this one. Sorry about that. There's not a lot to see, but I wanted you to see that it's running. And remember, the market was down by 2 points. The system now is automatically doing asset management trades. It's not really exciting, but I wanted you to see that it was real. And what this particular system was able to do with a market that was declining by 2 points, the system was able to beat the market by 6.8%, which means 2 plus 6.8 gathered an 8.8% higher return in 85 seconds based on the knowledge of these 2 traders. Showcasing again that if you've got the subject matter expertise, you understand the data science, and you apply cognitive, you can take a lot of the stuff that you guys do today in your companies and really create a tremendous competitive advantage. Okay, so how many of you guys want to start now? Do you guys want to look at this for your businesses? I do. You guys interested? Okay. So what do? Well, there's a couple things you can do. The first one is, if you want to, you can do a hackathon in your own company. So I love this one. I don't know if you guys read about this in the Wall Street Journal. Splunk did a hackathon, and they let all their employees play with cognitive. And this one guy wrote an app that I really, really, really want. He wrote a conference call app. And what he did was, living on the West Coast, working for an East Coast company like me, you're on 5 a.m. calls a lot. So he wrote with cognitive a program to recognize his name. When his name was spoken, it would do speech to text. It would use his voice and say, sorry, I was on mute. That would give him 20 seconds to be able to get the text version of whatever was asked to him so that then he could immediately respond. He used this for 6 months before someone figured out what he was doing. And it was written up in the Wall Street Journal. So now this is kind of fun, but this is something that was created out of this hackathon. And you can see that he was being playful with it, but lots of potentials for how you might be able to use it. There is a hackathon coming up that is just for women. We call it the Hack for 2X. When I say just for women, we want dads of daughters and others to hack with us, but it's XX plus XY, men plus women, to the power of women. And we are going to train everyone on cognitive. We've partnered with Witty and Girls Who Code, Girls in Tech, Black Girls Who Code, et cetera, as well as some major corporations. It'll be in September. We'll do it here in Silicon Valley, New York, Israel, India, the whole 9 yards. To teach you how to leverage and use cognitive systems so that you can code your own conference call app or code something even better and greater for your company. So hopefully you're really excited. I wanted to share this because I think it's such an opportunity for women today to take advantage of it. It's like right at the cusp. When I used to talk about social and the potential of social media, it's right at the cusp. It's the right time to get in there. So there's a couple of cognitive communities you can join, some very active ones here in the Valley. We started one with 25 people in January. Our last meeting, we had 600 people at our meetup. 600. So you can meet others, learn from others. The second one, all of those services that I showed today, if you go out to our Watson Developer Cloud, you can play with them. You can input your speech. You can input your Twitter handle. It will show you your personality. It's amazing. So play with it and see what you can do with it. And then we also have an entrepreneur program where if you have a company and you want to leverage that company around Watson, we've got some mentorship items that we'll do for you as a startup. We'll provide market assistance and really help you out. I'll give you one example. I don't know if you guys, anybody watch America's Greatest Makers? Okay, you guys, so some of you who watched it, it's like a Shark Tank, but it was for people who make stuff. So one of the startups was our startup called Grush, G-R-U-S-H. They created a toothbrush with IoT, or Internet of Things, sensors on it. When you brush your teeth with it, it's analyzing every tooth. So 10,000 data points each time you brush your teeth, hopefully it's at least twice a day. All that data goes in. They use cognitive to evaluate how you're brushing your teeth, and they created a game on your iPhone for kids to encourage them to brush their teeth longer. Most recently, this is really interesting, an insurance company has now picked up that if you use the Grush toothbrush, they will actually reduce your payments on dental insurance if you're brushing your teeth right, and if over time you use the cognitive learning tool of how to brush your teeth better. Interesting, right? So different business model, all done through the Global Entrepreneur Program. So hopefully this was helpful. 5 different things, know about cognitive, look how big it is, and it's in every industry. Look at some of the skills you can leverage that you already have today. Experience it, go out there and play with it, and then get started now. Join one of these hackathons and start really seeing how you can leverage this for your business. Thank you so much for your time. I'd love to help any or each of you and every one of you try to figure out how to leverage this in your businesses and for your career. Thank you.